This video is brought to you by Nvidia's RTX 30 series GPUs and the Respawn Ninja Gundam XTI gaming PC available exclusively at M-Wave. Yes, they made a GPU based on Gundam, and then these mad lads did a custom build to show it off. Stick around to learn more about it at the end of the video. I've spent the last 2 weekends playing nearly every session of the Halo Infinite multiplayer test flight thing. I spent about 15 to 20 hours with it in total. I tested it on 4 different hardware configs. I played all game modes and all maps. I played the Academy gun range challenges. I played against bots. I played against other players. I played solo, and I played in a 4-stack group. And can I just say from the very beginning, it is so fucking good to have Halo back. I want to be clear from the outset that it's far too early to be ringing the victory gong at this point. The content we've experienced during this flight test thing represents just a small slice of what's on the way when the game fully releases on December 8th. We've only seen a small selection of maps, weapons, and game modes. We've only seen a small part of the progression and customization, and we have no idea how the final monetization model will work, despite knowing many of its components. We don't know how day one server capacity is going to hold up as literally millions of people log in and attempt to melt 343 servers, and as Amazon's recently released MMO New World has shown us, no company is safe from that dire fate. Having said all of that, I cannot express how happy I am, how relieved I am, how fucking excited I am by what I have played these past 2 weekends. We all saw that reveal trailer back then and we were like, We heard the news of the changes in leadership at 343, losing multiple senior leaders as the project languished. We all got that delay news a while back, pushing Halo Infinite back a full year. And we got that recent delay news, pushing back the launch of Forge and Campaign Co-op until sometime next year. There were a lot of red flags about this project, and like I said, we aren't out of the woods yet, but goddamn if this wasn't some of the best fun I've had playing a PvP game in I don't know how long, to be honest. Obviously part of that is going to be my love for this franchise and my connection to it. Halo 1 and 2 rank among my favorite and most played games ever, so a new Halo game is always going to have an advantage with me. But that sure as hell didn't stop me from hating Halo 5. Like, I really hated that game. So it's not like I'm out here giving Halo a free pass, right? This just feels so crisp, so well designed, so balanced, except for some of the weapons, but we'll come back to that. More than anything else, this just feels so authentically Halo, despite the fact that Infinite adds or refreshes some really core Halo mechanics, sprint, slide, aim down sights, the gadgets, the grapple hook. Any one of those things could have broken this game, resulting in a Halo that feels more like Call of Duty or Titanfall or Destiny or worse, Overwatch. But it doesn't. 343 thread that needle, and the result is a multiplayer experience that feels utterly contemporary while still remaining utterly Halo. Let's look over some technical stuff first. I tested Halo Infinite on 4 machines, a PC with an RTX 3080, another with a 2080 Ti. I played it on an Xbox Series X and on a Series S. PC performance first. Predictably, Halo Infinite runs well on an RTX 3080, but not quite as well as I would have hoped. I ran at 1440p since that machine's monitor is 1440p 144Hz. I set absolutely everything to max, and I was getting an average of around 100 frames a second. Now, Halo looks pretty good, but it's built on an engine that is designed to be able to run on base Xbox One S hardware, and it's also meant to run at 4K 120 FPS on the Xbox Series X. Given that, I really should be able to push out a solid 144 frames here when I'm playing on a top-end PC like this, and the fact that I wasn't was a little worrying. On the 2080 Ti PC, I ran it at 4K because that machine is plugged into my television, and with the settings set to either medium or low, I was getting around 45 frames a second with some noticeable frame drop. Again, 4K 120 FPS is the target for Xbox Series X, and I am well short of that on a GPU that is still pretty strong by most standards. I was able to get this frame rate up to a solid 60 by dropping the resolution to 1440p, That's nice and all, but it's still not 120. I did my benchmark testing in the second week of the flight, and many are reporting noticeable performance increases in that second week. The first weekend, a lot of people had significant issues getting their game to run well. While there has been some improvements, there are still plenty of people reporting issues, particularly on lower end hardware, so I think it's clear that we've still got a ways to go here. 343 have said they're aware of performance issues and will continue to work on them. We are 8 weeks from launch, so there is some time for that uplift to occur, but at this point I would say if you're on lower end hardware, watch this space. But don't forget that the multiplayer side of the game is free, so you can always just install it for yourself to see how it runs on your machine. You don't have to buy this one to try it. I also spent a few rounds playing Halo Infinite on Xbox Series X, which is the footage you're seeing here, and on the Series S, which I didn't record. The Series X promises 4K 120 FPS performance, while the Series S promises 1080p at 120 FPS. In both instances, this is made possible by dynamic resolution scaling. I don't have the tools to do proper frame rate or resolution analysis, but Digital Foundry do. They did a video on this recently, which I'll leave in the description below. I really recommend checking that out, but the key takeaway from that video is that they were extremely impressed with Infinite's performance on the Xbox Series X console, with it really delivering on that 4K 120 FPS promise. I certainly felt the same way when I tested it on the Series X. It really did run spectacularly well. Series S is a lot more complicated to talk about since it does make quite a few sacrifices to hit that 120 FPS target. Still, it does remain very smooth. Interestingly, the Xbox One X version, which I didn't test, actually supports 60 FPS if you set it to performance mode, and that's fantastic. I don't think anyone was expecting that. We're in a situation where if you are planning to play Halo Infinite, right now the best machine to play it on is a console worth a few $100s and not a PC worth a few $1,000s. In a weird way, that's kind of nice, because, you know, there's something very fitting about Xbox's crown jewel running best on an Xbox. But at the same time, PC players should be having an experience that is at least as good as console players. Hopefully 343 can make that happen before launch. During my playtime, I also tested crossplay and cloud sync, or cloud saves, what do you want to call it. Cloud syncing is not at all interesting at this point, at least not for people in the Xbox ecosystem. It means that I could play on my PC or my Series X or my Series S or whatever, and all the data is just saved in the cloud, and whatever I log into, it automatically loads my profile. That includes my keybinds for PC and controller remapping. Absolutely loved that. Crossplay is so easy. I was on Xbox, I just clicked my friend's name who was playing on PC. 2 seconds later, I was in his party. Instantaneous, totally seamless, fantastic. Over the coming years, I suspect we're going to be hearing more about how seamless Xbox's ecosystem is and how much of a competitive advantage it affords it. This stuff is genuinely pushing me more and more towards the Xbox ecosystem every day, and Halo Infinite is a perfect showcase for all the back-end work that Microsoft have put in. The settings menu on the PC is extremely robust with plenty of options to tweak performance, full remapping for both PC and controller, and a number of accessibility options, which is a big focus for Microsoft, so it's great to see that stuff there. One serious omission though is that there's no full screen option, only windowed and borderless windowed. That's kind of crazy. I can't recall a game I've played recently that doesn't offer a full screen mode. This is a big deal for many people with specific monitors or specific monitor configurations. No full screen can result in choppiness or stuttering for many people. Not sure why this is not a setting, but it really does need to be added. Finally, I'm not someone who plays with a controller, but certainly the Xbox community and those that play with a controller have been very vocal about the fact that the controller experience is not good. I won't speak about it here because I'm not an expert on things like controller dead zone and sensitivity, but plenty of people that are have been ringing the alarm bell on this one, to the point where 343 have acknowledged the issue and have promised to address it before launch. That's a lot of technical information, so let me bring it up a level and say, this is far from the worst beta I've played. There's still some problems here, but I'm left feeling optimistic about Halo Infinite's launch date more than I am worried. You could ship Halo Infinite multiplayer tomorrow, and it would be in a better state than 95% of AAA live service games on their launch days. Though to be fair, that is not a high bar. If you were worried that Halo Infinite would be some Master Chief level technical catastrophe, I think you can rest easy. It's looking pretty good. Just like the rest of the game. In fact, that's a lie. The rest of the game is looking fucking awesome. Killing spree. Flag taken. Halo Infinite's recent flight test was split into two phases, 4v4 social and 14v14 big team battle. Social supported a number of different game modes and maps, while the big team battle was all played on one map but supported a few different game modes. Map design is the bedrock foundation on which an arena-based shooter is built. If you can't nail your map design, it doesn't matter how good the rest of your sandbox is, because everyone is going to be running around with shotguns, sliding around corners, running stag rift stasis. Wait, sorry, this isn't a Destiny video. Let's stay focused. Halo Infinite's multiplayer maps are very impressive from the get-go. Each of them have their own distinct visual style, identity, and a really good mix of flashpoints and laneways and brawler pits and sniper nests. Every section of map had a layout that would support a certain type of engagement, and as you move through the map to chase either kills or objectives, you were constantly forced to change up your playstyle to be effective in that section. Bazaar's open courtyard facilitates a cover-based style of gameplay favoring long-range weapons, while its back alleys and staircases all force you into short-range CQC. Most shooters do this with their map design, but Halo condenses this formula because its map design is so small, and because weapon pickups enable you to immediately prepare for that engagement. Next to one of the doorways into the Bazaar is a battle rifle. This is literally 343 saying, you are about to head into a space where this weapon will do well. Here it is if you want it. That on-the-fly decision-making as you rapidly move between combat spaces is just excellent. More broadly, I just didn't encounter a map I didn't love. They all felt so unique, so well designed, so much fun to play on, and so balanced. I never found any sections where enemies would have an unfair advantage during objective play, like the goddamn ace spawn on Dead Cliffs. I mean, come on, Bungie, how long until we take that map out of the Sorry. That happened again. I apologize. Game modes. During the flight test, we had access to Strongholds, which is essentially just capture the point, Slayer, which is team deathmatch, Total Control, where you need to capture all 3 points in order to score, and Capture the Flag. And man, I really forgot how much I missed Capture the Flag. It was just so good to be playing that again. Balance. I keep coming back to this word, but all of these game modes felt so remarkably balanced. The location of the control points, how long it took to cap them, the spawn time and spawn points, the availability of heavy weapons and pickups that could materially impact the flow of the game. At no point did I ever feel like any of the game outcomes were unfair, that we had lost because of some flaw in 343's design. Every loss was incurred because our opponents outplayed us, and that's just a really nice feeling. When it comes to weapons, Infinite serves up a mix of classics like the assault rifle, the battle rifle, and the needler, as well as a range of new weapons like the commando, or the skewer, or the heatwave shotgun. We haven't even seen the full offering yet, but already this is an extremely impressive mix of weapons that pay homage to the roots of the franchise without feeling stuck in the past. The skewer in particular is incredible. It's a projectile-based sniper rifle thing with a large caliber round that will one-shot a target from across the map and immediately explode any vehicle unlucky enough to get in its way.
An ally has taken the enemy flag.
Interestingly, there isn't a single weapon in Halo Infinite that feels overpowered, but there are definitely some weapons that feel underpowered. The shotguns like the UNSC Bulldog and the Forerunner Heatwave are terrible. So awful. In the case of the Bulldog, I don't think I've ever used a worse shotgun in any video game, ever. This thing feels like it's shooting feathers. I wonder if 343 were keen to avoid a shotgun ape meta, because that's a thing in other games, not just Destiny by the way, it's a thing more broadly. If that's the case, I appreciate that intent, but I think that 343 went a little overboard here, and these weapons definitely deserve a buff. But generally speaking, gunplay feels great. Weapon switching, reloading, recoil, hit detection, feedback, all of it is super on point. Aim down sights is one of those hot button Halo issues since it wasn't part of the original Halo experience, and 343's inclusion of a much pared back and restrained ADS feels like the perfect compromise. Not having ADS probably would have felt a little old school at this point, but going full ADS would have felt decidedly un-Halo. Again, 343 thread that needle. Same thing goes for sprint. Sprinting does provide a minor increase in movement speed, but not too much. Too much movement really fucks Halo, since time to kill is really high, and if people can just run away from engagements, then the whole experience collapses. Movement speed here feels right. When you engage, running away isn't an option, you really do have to throw down. There's also slide in the mix as well, and this too has been really well implemented. It provides a small amount of forward propulsion while dropping you down, but its tuning is such that it never feels like a requirement. Slide is a dangerous addition to an arena shooter. It can be very addictive and very disruptive if it provides too much benefit. That is not the case here. 343 have implemented a slide that is a genuine option with trade-offs, rather than a must-perform move that you're going to spam every time you enter an engagement. Again, 343 thread that needle. Much the same could be said of Infinite's suite of pickup abilities and gadgets. The grapple hook is incredible. It is so much fun to use in 4v4 since it produces some thrilling outplays, and even better to use in big team battles since you can grapple onto vehicles and hijack them or grab hammer them. I don't have any footage of that, I didn't make any of that happen, but it did happen to me, courtesy of this asshole right here.
An ally has taken the enemy flag.
The brilliance of the grapple is that it's a limited pickup use. This thing is so fun to use that there would have been so much temptation for 343 to make this a permanent passive ability, but they showed the right restraint here, and as a result, the grapple feels like a powerful, unique addition that enlarges Halo's sandbox, not some disruptive force that makes Halo feel more like Titanfall. There are other gadgets, like a one-way shield thing that's great for setting up defensive positions. There's a threat detector, which pings an area, and a repulsor, which reflects grenades and sends enemies flying off ledges. Again, something that happened to me. More than once, I'm ashamed to say. None of these things feel overpowered. None of them are I win buttons that guarantee you free kills. They are tools that give you an edge, but you still need to play well to secure kills or the objectives. None of these things are crutches to lean on. They're all strategic tools that add to your arsenal, deepening the moment-to-moment decision-making that is at the core of any good shooter. I know I keep coming back to this point about balance, so I just want to wrap it up here and say that I am legitimately stunned by how balanced this entire experience feels at this point. There wasn't a single moment in this past 2 weekends where I felt like any death or loss wasn't entirely my fault or my team's fault. This feels like a game that has been on the market for months or years, with its weapon balancing, TTK, map design, heavy weapon and pickup economy. All of it feels so precisely tuned. You might think, well, Halo's 20 years old now, so it had a big head start. Sure, partly, but largely, no. Every game stands on its own 2 feet, and with so many additions and changes to Infinite, any one of those things could have been the thing that undid this game's balance, but that never happened, and I struggle to recall any beta experience I've ever had that felt as balanced as this did. As important as balance is, it doesn't make a game fun. It just means that a game doesn't feel unfair. And as I was playing Infinite this weekend, I kept asking myself, why is this so damn fun? What is it at the core of this experience that makes this work as well as it's working? And it took me a long time to find that answer, because I think the answer is something that we've kind of forgotten about over the last 5 years. And I'm talking about a physics-based sandbox. Modern day shooters like Call of Duty or Battle Royale games like Apex Legends or Destiny's Crucible or tactical shooters like CSGO and Valorant, these aren't physics-based experiences. They're very much about precise gunplay. Halo is a battlefield where things explode, sending you flying and vehicles tear past you or above you, or the warthog that you're on hits a rock and starts pirouetting in the sky while you keep holding down that fire button strapped to that minigun in the back. The inclusion of these new vehicles, the grapple, the fuel cells, the return of the grav hammer and the repulsor pickup, all of these things feed into this sandbox where the most exciting plays aren't 3 precise headshots with a pistol, it's hurtling off a booster pad, carrying a fuel cell, and blindly hurling it across the map for it to sail straight through the windshield of a warthog, resulting in a triple kill. I never made that happen, but someone will make it happen. In fact, someone probably has made it happen, and the clip is probably doing the rounds on social media right now. That's actually been one of my favorite things to do this past 2 weekends. Scrolling through the Halo Infinite hashtag and just watching all the shit people pull off. It's so much fun to see. Halo is such a fucking awesome spectator sport because its sandbox is able to produce all of this stuff. It's so fun when these moments happen that you don't even care if you're on the receiving end of them. Halo Infinite is one of the few games I've ever played where I am cheering for my opponent when they pull off big plays and kill me because I'm just glad that I got to be a part of it. Interestingly, I think it's no coincidence that Battlefield, one of the only other physics-driven shooters, is leaning so heavily into all this stuff in its marketing of 2042. Those Battlefield moments like the Rendezvous have the same DNA that Halo moments do. The market is ready for a game like this right now. I've seen some commentary from some content creators, not just one by the way, but quite a few, that if Halo Infinite ships without a Battle Royale mode, it'll be dead in a month. That's fucking ridiculous. I mean, if they want to do a Battle Royale, that's cool. I think that'd be fun. But Halo doesn't need Battle Royale to be successful. It just needs to deliver us the same balanced, free-form, physics-based sandbox that the classic Halo games delivered up, with the right interventions to ensure the experience feels contemporary in 2021. From what I've experienced so far in Infinite, 343 are absolutely doing that, and if they can stick this landing, I think Halo Infinite is going to be the return to form that Halo fans have long been waiting for. Good luck, 343. Everyone is rooting for you. One last thing before we go, as I was playing Halo Infinite these past 2 weekends, I got the chance to play it on this new rig, a custom-built PC based on the Asus ROG Strix RTX 3080 Gundam Edition. The rig was put together by Australian retailer M-Wave, and if you haven't heard of them before, and you're in Australia, then you probably have never bought any PC components. They're one of Australia's leading PC retailers, and they are excellent. Long before I was doing YouTube, I was buying stuff from M-Wave. Over the years, M-Wave have built 3 PCs for me, all of which were fantastic in terms of build quality and post-sale support. As for the rig itself, it's one sexy unit, a custom-built job using a variety of components, including the Asus GPU, their Z590 gaming motherboard, and their LC360 cooler. The GPU is, of course, an RTX 3080, bringing you all the benefits you've come to expect from Nvidia's latest gen hardware. What are those benefits, you ask? Well, obviously, the raw processing power of Nvidia's 30 series cards is unmatched, delivering you the best frame rates and resolutions on the market today. In addition to that, you also get ray tracing, which is a technique that simulates light using an algorithm, resulting in the most realistic rendition of light we've seen yet in video games. The most impressive tech is one utilized in games like the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's called DLSS, which stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling. What this does is it renders your game at a lower resolution while making it look like it's running it at a higher resolution, giving your GPU more headroom to spend on higher graphical settings and frame rates. Back when I tested DLSS on Outriders, I picked up an average of around 40 frames, and that is a huge increase. Pair that with the rig's Core i9 processor and its 32GB of DDR4 RAM, and you've got a machine that is going to be able to handle anything you throw at it for a long time to come. M-Wave are the only place you can grab the custom-built Respawn Ninja Gundam XTI gaming PC, so click the link in the description below to find out more, and if you'd like to learn more about Nvidia's next-gen GPUs, I left a link for that too. Thanks Nvidia and M-Wave for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.